Hello everyone and welcome to the StarCityGames.com Open Series in Los Angeles. I'm Glenn Jones and I'm here with Ryan Delang. Thanks for coming by, Ryan.
Of course, man. Thank you.
Well, how are you doing in Legacy today?
I'm currently X101.
It's not bad. All right. You're playing a deck that is actually not that popular in the room. I've seen it pop up a lot. It's one of my favorite decks, and that's Maverick. One of the better non-blue decks in Legacy, historically speaking.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different variations on Maverick. Today we're going to talk about Ryan's. You've got the basic creature base that everyone has kind of decided is the main norm.
Yeah, they're the best cards.
Yeah, Noble Hierarch, Mother of Runes, Stoneforge Mystic, Scavenging Ooze, and Neither Reliquary. Not everybody runs with Stoneforge Mystic always in the main, but most people have come around at this point. It's just one of the best cards in Legacy.
Dropping a Battle Skull on turn 3 is one of the most important things you can possibly do.
Everyone loves a good free win, and Stoneforge Mystic provides.
Exactly.
One of the things where you have diverged, a lot of people recently have been going with Dark Maverick. They go black really for good. Abrupt Decay, Thought Seize, Dark Confidant sometimes even, a little bit of action. You've gone back to red for punishing Fire and Grove of the Burning Woods.
Yeah, I felt like there was going to be a whole lot of Delver in the format. Bug, Rug, Blue-Red, American. Sure. There's just so many different variants of that deck. And it's so just widespread right now. Punish Fire just deals with it. I don't care if you flip it. That's cool. I'll kill it every time, 4 days. It's
fantastic in creature matchups, and the better Liliana the Veil gets, the better Punishing Fire gets, too, to help you counteract it as well.
Exactly. I mean, I was playing against Jund earlier today, +1. I was like, okay. I went to 2, put the Punishing Fire away, pulled it back, and killed Liliana the Veil. Like,
sure.
Sweet.
That's the exact synergy they're trying to exploit with Liliana, so it kind of just turns it into an even exchange, except they had to invest 3 mana in a card. It's not really working out for them.
No.
All right, but one of the cards you have added that was not available the last time we really saw Punishing Maverick around is new and from Born of the Gods, and that's Spirit of the Labyrinth. It's tailor-made for this kind of strategy, right?
It's a beast. It's a 3-1 beats deck to begin with, and honestly that's huge pressure for a lot of decks that it's going to be good against. Most of them will be counters. Anything like countertop, anything that's drawing a lot of cards is going to have a hard time with Spirit of the Labyrinth. Sure. It beats in for huge, you put a sword on it, it's great, and then, you know, hey, why don't you put 2 back with Brainstorming and draw 1? That's great.
Yeah, one of the best strategies against combo decks is often, for many decks like Bug Delver and Rug Delver and all these decks, is a little bit of disruption, then a quick Tarmogoyf, try and close things out fast. Spirit of the Labyrinth is literally both of those things in one card.
It is literally both of those things in one card.
3-1 beater, keeps them from drawing extra cards, seems fantastic in all the combo matchups. How has it been for you today?
It's been fantastic. I played against American Delver, and I kept my opponent from casting 3 Brainstorms in it. For about 6 turns.
That's a pretty significant shutdown.
And he was just going, I can't flip my Delvers. And I was like, okay.
That works fine for you.
It's great. It's fantastic.
All right, well, the last adaptation to your strategy is you've incorporated Living Wish and a pretty extensive Living Wish package. Going to the sideboard, we see it's occupied almost completely by Living Wish targets. You have 11 targets for Living Wish.
Yeah.
And then just a few other sideboard cards.
If you're going to play Living Wish, you better have more than half.
You might as well dedicate. I've been doing a little wishing myself lately, so I'm right on board with
great.
you.
It's great.
First off, we'll talk about some of the cards you have duplicated. These are cards that are all in your main deck.
Yes.
You've also added them to sideboard, so Living Wish can kind of function as those cards.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have a toolbox aspect.
Exactly. Yeah, which is the whole point of Maverick, is the toolbox.
Exactly. It's basically letting Living Wish turn into Green Sun Zenith for you when it needs to. Yeah. And you also can access, of course, non-green creatures out of the sideboard.
Which is super relevant in Maverick.
Yeah. Spirit of the Labyrinth, one of the good ones we can get to. We've also got Scavenging Ooze, Gaddock, Kasali Pride Mage, another Stoneforge Mystic, which is pretty handy.
6 Stoneforge Mystics in the main is pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad for one of the best cards in the format. And then you have an additional copy of Karakas and Wasteland. Sometimes you really got to get those cards, especially against Sneak and Show. You want to be able to wish for a Karakas.
You got to wish for a Karakas.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the ones that aren't in the main. Your Living Wish basically doubles as sideboard copies of these cards.
Yes.
Although you're a little slowed down since you have to pay the 2 mana up front to get access to them.
Yes, and on the play, which unfortunately a lot of times against these specific cards happens, I have to go to game 2. It's not that hard getting it on turn 2, and then turn 3, I'm on the play. It's my turn 3, their turn 3. You're not going to combo me off, and I can get to something I need to put on the board to say you can't kill me.
It's very important that the cards you're Living Wishing for are actually going to be useful on the turn you can cast them.
Yes.
Those sort of plays that are good on turn 1 or 2, not going to work out. You really need creatures that will actually shut down their strategy, and that's what you've got. You've got Thalia, huge backbreaker against the combo decks.
Oh my gosh.
Aethersworn Canonist, huge backbreaker against Storm. Kataki, War's Wage. Affinity, obviously, never want to see that come down. It basically kills them on the spot.
Yeah, and it also surprisingly works really, really well against a lot of the True Name decks because they're tapping out, trying to get stuff down, and they've got tons of equipment on board. And you're just like, you can pay for that, bro?
Yeah, sure. I can definitely see you struggling to tap down their mana. Even against Shardless Bug, you could actually occasionally wish for it to tie down their agents and Baleful Strixes.
Exactly. So it's really interesting how sometimes it just comes into matches that you're just like, oh, that's a thing.
Mm-hmm. one of my favorite sideboard cards and land searchers in general is Bojuka Bog. No one sees the Bog coming. They've seen it for years.
And they never see it coming.
They never see it coming. It always gets its man.
I've only wished for it once, and when I wished for it, my opponent was just like, what? But it worked well. I just wished for it, played it, and they were like, okay. They didn't see, they were like, you have no knight on board, I can go for it. I got the combo next turn, there's nothing you can do except for draw the Bojuka Bog. And I was like, Living Wish, Bojuka Bog, Exile Hook Graveyard, there you go, Reanimator.
The card does the trick. Now, one of the things that has actually wounded a lot of these white-based decks recently was the printing of True Name Nemesis. A lot of people struggle to answer it. If you're planning to try and grind someone out long with a Punishing Fire and they have a 3-1 you can never ever beat in play, it's pretty hard to race.
Yeah.
So you've actually dedicated your sideboard. You've got a few answers to the True Name Nemesis that give you the ability to actually race the card.
Yeah. I played against American Delaware in round 2, and I was able to manage his turn 3 True Name Nemesis against my turn 4 responsive Ruined Halo naming True Name Nemesis.
Ruined Halo, a name for a name.
A name for a name. And he just sat there going, that's cool, man. I got a True Name Nemesis. Figured he'd block with it. And unfortunately, Fire and Ice came down the following turn. And he was just like, all right, I lose.
Yep, Sword of Fire and Ice is at an all-time high right now. I actually played No Jitte and a Sword of Fire and Ice in a tournament recently just to try it out. It was not really that much worse. It was surprising to me. It's such a good card right now.
Yeah, exactly. I actually, for a long time, was fighting with my buddy, Alaric Stein, who's the big person who helped me build this deck. We were fighting over whether or not I needed Batter Skull. And I was saying, no Batter Skull, no Batter Skull, no Batter Skull. I just want to play Fire and Ice, Light and Shadow. He finally convinced me to do it. That thing has been, I've been carried to victory on that thing for so many games today. So I'm so glad he convinced me to do that.
Oh, good for him, yeah.
Yeah, he's smart.
You also included Story Circle, has a very similar function, although it also shuts down a few other cards, obviously, anything blue among them.
Yeah, it's also really, really funny. I play it against a lot of Jund decks, and a lot of anything that's running Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf's a big threat I can't really deal with a lot of times. I only wait for me to kill it with Swords and Plowshares, and I don't always have that. Slamming that thing down and going green, just being like, Tarmogoyf, 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 they get really frustrated. It's just on scavenging it. They just, whoa, what am I supposed to do against this?
The better your long game is, the better cards like this certainly become. Because all you need to do is stay alive and let inevitability take over.
Exactly.
All right. Last but not least, we have a couple more pieces of equipment for our Stoneforge Mystics. We have Manriki Gusari, old standby, old reliable.
Nobody's playing it lately, I see, and I'm really frustrated with that. I'm like, oh, why aren't you guys playing Manriki? It's really good. Kills Batter Skull. That's good enough reason for me.
Yeah, it's a fantastic card in any Stoneforge mirror, especially when we're already talking about how popular a lot more swords are becoming.
Exactly.
Including one of the ones you're playing, which is Sword of Light and Shadow. A little unusual to see in Legacy. I think it's a great card in Modern right now. It's very underplayed in Modern. But what drove you to want a Sword of Light and Shadow in this particular deck?
It gains 3 life, which is super awesome.
It's definitely useful.
It turns tons of creatures, which seems to die all the time. Unfortunately, Swords Plowshares kind of stops that, but I felt like there's going to be a lot of blue-white type decks, and I don't like Supreme Verdict, obviously. Sure. So I was like, okay, I'll just start putting up Light and Shadow. Also, I felt like there's going to be a lot of green and white, green-black decks, which inevitably a lot run white. I saw the Death and Taxes list was doing really, really well.
Yeah, okay.
They don't really have an answer once I slam that on the board, apart from Abrupt Decaying, the Light and Shadow, and then Swordsing the creature, which...
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
I'll take that any day.
I do really like swords against control decks. They're at their best there. Every creature is a threat, especially when you've got things like Noverheart and Mother Runes. Not really at their best in those particular matchups, but put a sword on them, now you're in business.
Yeah, in my 4th round, I played against a combo deck that you guys actually deck checked earlier, and a beatdown for wins with an Arbor Elf equipped with a Fire and Ice.
That will do the trick. All right, Ryan. Well, they have just posted up the pairings for the next round.
Perfect.
You are still in copy contention, so good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Hope you get there.
Have a great one.